And so it begins.
I miss Maisie and Sebastian. I miss Maisie and Sebastian. I haven't seen them for several weeks. Has volunteered with us.
Throat volume, you okay?
Can I hear? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just expecting
Testing.
I hear not drink any caffeine after 2 p.m.
Go on, your throat volume.
Testing.
Oh, that is for, when I get in the spell and I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Testing.
That's
Oh,
just in case. Yeah, that usually makes me.
Mic check, hello.
My glasses are almost sync.
Everybody's just
Okay.
Weird.
yours progressive.
No, they're not. No, they're not that.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting. Would like to thank everyone who has joined us here today and those who have joined us online for today's meeting. Can you rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Elizabeth, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Harker,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cooper,
Here.
Commissioner Gilligan,
Here.
Commissioner LaPiccolo,
Here.
Commissioner Oliver,
Here.
Commissioner Spiegler.
Thank you. I had my notes here. Now, unless there's any questions by the board, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
We've got a motion on the floor. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you so much. Now, before we get into our regular meeting, the town wishes to recognize and honor an individual who for decades have dedicated her life to help shape our historic and cultural identity. And tonight we get to celebrate this extraordinary contribution, the contributions of Miss Patricia Suggs. Now, somebody has put baby in the corner, and I don't like that. She's back there in the corner. Now, Patricia has served as the executive director of the Beaufort Historic Association for 25 years, leading its preservation efforts, landmark restoration, and the community events that have enriched Beaufort's heritage and spirit. So today I'm going to read a proclamation and present it to her. And the proclamation reads as such. Whereas Patricia Suggs has faithfully and tirelessly served as executive director of the Beaufort Historical Association for the past 25 years. Whereas under her visionary leadership, the association and the Beaufort Historic Site have both grown in scope, reputation, and impact, helping to position Beaufort, North Carolina as one of our state's most cherished historic towns. And whereas Ms. Suggs has spearheaded numerous programs, events, and initiatives, including the Christmas candlelight tours, summer and fall party fundraisers, the establishment of the Beaufort Historical Foundation, and the preservation and maintenance of the iconic double-decker bus, all of which are invaluable assets of the association and the community. And whereas her interpretation and care of the 2-acre site have resulted in the completion of many meticulous restoration projects, including the award-winning Manson House, which is circa 1825, the Carteret County Courthouse, which is 1796, the oldest wood frame courthouse in North Carolina, and Old Jail, 1829, drawing thousands of visitors and enriching the region's cultural offerings. And whereas her dedication, direction has guided staff, volunteer, board members, donors, and community leaders alike towards successful local partnerships. And whereas her tireless efforts have ensured a lasting celebration of Beaufort's rich heritage for future generations. And now, therefore, be it resolved that with deep gratitude and heartfelt admiration, the town of Beaufort do hereby recognize Patricia Suggs for extraordinary service, voluntary leadership, and unwavering commitment to the mission of the Beaufort Historical Association over the past quarter century. Be it further resolved that I, Mayor Sharon E. Harker, do hereby proclaim and designate August the 22nd, 2025 as Patricia Suggs Day. In the town of Beaufort in recognition for her lasting contributions to our town's historic character, civic pride, and cultural legacy. So I've been given under good intel that August the 22nd is her retirement. So that's why we're going to celebrate her today as well as all throughout the year. And if the board can come and join me, and let's get baby out the corner. We'd like to thank you from the bottom of our heart. This is just a small token of our greater appreciation. And somebody's got big shoes to fill. But I know you can guide him along. Okay, very good.
Thank you. Usually I'm here when I'm in trouble.
Well, you're not in trouble. Oh, well, let's picture that. So you have to stand up here and everybody needs to snap pictures. So we're gonna put this, how do you get around? Act like you know what picture it is. Can I get whatever you do? Okay, everybody get it? And I want to thank everyone who has come out to honor Patricia. I know this means a lot to her.
One more flood to go.
So now we're going to move on to the items of consent. We have the minute meetings from July the 14th, June the 9th, July the 28th, and July the 14th. We have the Ann Street closure for Halloween night. This will be a temporary closure from the 500 to 800 blocks of Ann Street from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on October the 31st. And if you've ever been to Ann Street Halloween, you understand exactly why that's being done. We have a personnel policy revision that's just talking about vacation leave accrual rate. We have the 2025 Pirate Invasion event request. That's going to be November the 14th through the 16th, and it will be downtown. So welcome to have that back. And then we have the budget amendment for the capital reserve funds and waterfront projects. And do I have any questions about the items of consent? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the items of consent?
So move.
We've got a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to the public hearing of the financing of the fuel farm. And can I get a motion to open the floor for public hearing?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, this is going to be a public hearing designed for individuals who would like to speak about the fuel farm project. It includes leading selections in terms of the project. And do we have anyone who's going to discuss the project before that? Christy is going to mention anything, or just open the floor? Okay, so we're going to open the floor to this topic. Does anybody in the first row wish to make a comment? Okay, how about the second row? Oh, lots of hands. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Mike Bradley, and I'm at 120 Craven Street. And I'm going to pass this around. This is the coastal boating guide map. It's been around for decades. And the information on the various, you can open it up and look at it, but it gives you an idea of how many marinas like Beaufort our coastal marinas in North Carolina, and I wanted to point out a couple things. So you just take a look at that, just pass it on. So I spent 22 years as the director of the NC Boating Industry Services. It was funded by the SBA and the small business centers and funding from NC utility companies. For the second 10 years of my program, my office was on the second floor of what is now the town hall. Most of my marina consulting efforts were helping operators manage costs and revenue centers, but I also spent a significant amount of time on regulatory and environmental issues. The cost centers include upkeep and repairs, personnel costs, and regulatory expenses. The main effort today is to talk about the revenue components. And there, in addition to retail stores, restaurants, dock rentals, fuel sales is the most significant component, and it usually does the heavy lifting for the profits or the money coming into the marinas. The Coastal Boating Guide that I've passed around is a byproduct of our program. It was done, I did the data, and then the wildlife did the public information, and NCDOT printed it. When you look at the guide, 85% of the 121 coastal marinas on that map sell fuel. And as you might imagine, the private businesses, private marinas, their objective is sometimes to make profit. I want to have the take home here for Beaufort is that the goal of municipal marinas isn't to make a profit. It's not to cost the taxpayers money to operate. What our committee, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that, but I'm on the waterfront committee. What our committee has done is put into motion for the town docks will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. Yes, sir.
Dexter Matthews, 606 Ann Street, Beaufort. For the purposes of my comments, I currently serve on the Beaufort Waterfront Operations and Finance Committee, and prior to working in the private sector for 10 years in government relations and environmental affairs, I retired from the state of North Carolina as director of the Division of Waste Management, Department of Environmental Quality. Among the 4 sections I managed in that division, the underground storage tank was one of those sections. I want to thank the town council for voting to move forward with the installation of a new underground storage tank for fuel supply for the Beaufort docks. Environmentally, new tanks pose much less risk for a release to the environment than tanks that have been in use for many decades, as the tank is that currently supplies the docks, even with upgrades that were required to be in place by 1998 by state and federal regulations. In addition to a more environmentally sound decision than using the old tanks, from an operational business decision, the risk of service interruption from a release or system infrastructure issue is much less with a new UST system in place. I know insurance coverage has been discussed, but I wanted to point out publicly that tank fees required of owners and operators of commercial tanks, just like this will be, currently they pay $420 per tank per year, acts as an insurance policy in the event of a release. The town does have to demonstrate the ability to meet required deductibles. Our town manager, Matt Zapp, made an excellent presentation to the Beowulf Committee on the financing and ability for repayment through revenue generated from operations of the Beaufort docks. Based on the facts presented by Mr. Zapp and the information I have discussed, I believe moving forward with our committee and our committee has voted to recommend moving forward with actions necessary for the UST installation is in the best interest of Beaufort. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Weymouth. I'm sorry. You forgot. Sorry. Barry's next. Yes, go ahead, Weymouth. You're fine. Yes.
Weymouth Tillett, 105 3rd Street. Good evening, Mayor,
Good evening.
Commissioners, staff.
Relevant to the consideration as to whether the town should approve the financing agreement for the construction and installation of the proposed fuel farm is the robust profitability of the Beaufort docks. This profitability greatly increases the probability of settling the debt for the fuel project ahead of schedule. The consistency of the revenue stream of the Beaufort docks should be reassuring. The marina has done very well for over 4 decades, weathering along the way economic ups and downs, hurricanes, dredging uncertainties, and more. In the 1990s, there was the expensive installation of the floating docks and an expansion of the fueling system. No grants, no appropriations, just sensible, phased, pay-as-you-go approach. There's absolutely no reason to believe that with F3 at the helm, Beaufort Town Docks will skip a beat in the first year. F3 manages over 20 municipal marinas, and everywhere they set up shop, slip occupancy has gone up, net revenue has gone up, customer satisfaction has gone up, and to boot, community outreach and engagement has gone up. The notion Beaufort is getting out of its lane, so to speak, by going municipal and putting in, as the good editor phrased it, the town's own gas station, is absurd. Why? Because 30% of the thousands of marinas in the U.S. are local, state, or federally owned, and the overwhelming majority of them, municipal included, offer fueling as an essential service. A town-owned, professionally managed marina with fueling services operating on public trust land is not an anomaly. In our case, it's a reasonable and measured path forward, sustained by the fact our waterfront is held in trust by the town for the benefit of all citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, town staff, and fellow Beaufort citizens. My name's Barry Slade. I've been in the marine industry my entire career. I now live at 109 Planters Way here in Beaufort. I'm a member also of the BWAF committee, as the previous speakers, and we recommended a waterfront plan that had 2 major elements. One was hiring the marina management firm to replace the current manager, and 2 was installing a town-owned fuel tank so Beaufort can capture revenue from the fuel sales. I'll focus on this second one as a point of my comments. The Board of Commissioners unanimously approved this plan, which set in motion some pretty massive efforts to make it happen, efforts that for some unknown reason and without clear motive have been opposed by local individuals and entities. Unfortunately, recent Carteret County News-Times coverage has spread much misinformation about this plan, and it's so much I can't address all of them, but I do have a couple of points tonight. First is the cost. Commissioner Oliver was quoted saying leasing from the Gear family would be far cheaper than buying our own tank. The paper then suggested that the fuel tank would have a $200,000 lease cost versus the $1.2 million the town is seeking. Both statements are incorrect and taken out of context. Even if it were an option to lease from the Gears, and it's not, the cost of $200,000 is an annual cost, not in total. So after 6 years, the town will have spent $1.2 million and still be leasing the tanks from whomever. With our plan, on the other hand, the $1.2 million investment means the town owns the tank outright in 5 years, and from then on, all fuel revenue and profits stay with the town, funding marina improvements and reducing taxpayer burden. And remember, the Gear property is for sale. A new owner could raise the lease price dramatically, or worse yet, remove the tanks altogether. That would leave Beaufort with no viable fuel option. Owning a tank is the only plan that makes long-term sense. Second is environmental concerns around the tanks. Critics suggest our plan is less environmental friendly. In reality, we'd be replacing decades-old tanks at the water's edge with a brand-new state-of-the-art tank set farther from the water and meeting all modern safety standards. Compliance and maintenance costs for the new tanks are not excessive, as someone pointed out, especially when compared to old fueling infrastructure nearing the end of its useful life. Finally, fuel proceeds from the tanks. Fuel sales are a major revenue source for the town's marina and a vital source for tenants. A marina selling fuel cannot be compared to a gas station, as Weymouth suggested. It's something dredged up by the newspaper to suggest that the town should build some gas stations as well. This shows a lack of understanding of some of these issues at hand. Here's how it works. Currently, the town's marina manager leases a tank from a private entity, then buys and dispenses the fuel and retains all the revenue. Under our plan, the town will use another third party to buy and dispense fuel, but from a town-owned tank, so net revenues stay in Beaufort for reinvestment in the marina and relief for the taxpayers. Most municipal marinas across the country own their fueling infrastructure, and they take the revenue from it. Our incoming marina management company, F3, confirms that 100% of the municipal marinas they manage own their own fuel tanks. In short, every argument against this plan fails under scrutiny. The unanimous decision by our commissioners was the right one. Let's move forward with installing and funding our own fuel tank and take control of this vital revenue source for the benefit of the citizens of Beaufort, both today and for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the second row? Okay, there you go.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Kevin McHugh, and I reside at 124 Queen Street. I intend to offer remarks concerning the fuel farm project and the proposed financing arrangements to fund this project. I want to make it clear that from the onset, that I am in favor of the fuel farm build-out and improvement project. This is a critical infrastructure investment that supports our harbor operations, maritime economy, and community resilience. However, I would like to offer an alternative to the proposed borrowing and financing that is proposed to advance this project. As you know, 611 Front Street was purchased by the town to gain access to the riparian rights on Taylor's Creek at a cost of $1.5 million. This was a strategic purchase to ensure that the town had uninterrupted and continuous waterfront access supporting the boardwalk expansion project. The funding to acquire this property was not facilitated through a loan, but rather through the transfer of funds allocated to other projects and improvement projects, I think namely probably the water and sewer projects that we currently have. We have discovered that the water and sewer project is underfunded by a staggering $6.5 million and is months behind schedule. According to an article published by the Carolina Coast Online on August 2nd, the total borrowings and grant proceeds for this project, the water and sewer project, exceeds $23.5 million. Aspects of this project include repairing sewer pipes at a cost of $12 million, updating water pipes at a cost of $8 million, and improving storm drains at a cost of $3.5 million. No mention of what the cost is to resurface our town roads. During the February 6th and 7th Board of Commissioners retreat, the future of 611 Front Street was discussed. The key takeaways were preservation of the historic building, protect the riparian rights, making the property safe and compliant with building code, and long-term, establish a welcome center once the town hall is relocated to a new facility. During the retreat, none of the projects regarding the relocation of the town hall or other projects were discussed. That's certainly a long-term, beyond 5-year project. And so the question is, why would we retain a property that's not really in line with the town's strategic position? My question to you is, how does this asset align with the town's budget priorities and infrastructure needs? Is there a current operational plan or a feasibility study for the property? Has the town identified the anticipated public benefit or revenue generating potential of this property? What is the ongoing cost to maintain this property? Increased insurance and maintenance, not to mention the annual property tax that's lost. None of these issues were discussed at the retreat session. Absent any strategic need to retain this property, I submit to the Board Commissioners an action item for consideration. List and sell 611 Front Street at the current market rate and use the proceeds of the sale to retire the debt that is likely to be approved for the fuel farm. This action would alleviate several concerns, including managing the debt capacity limit and probable unintended increase in future utility rates. I believe transparency and fiscal responsibility is absolutely critical, especially in the current environment we find ourselves, where funding sources are far more competitive and less readily available than in years past. It is more important than ever that we manage our local resources with prudence and foresight. Every dollar we allocate must be weighed against both immediate community needs and our long-term priorities. Fiscal responsibility is not simply a budgetary principle. It is a commitment to ensuring that taxpayer funds are used effectively, transparently, and in a way that maximizes community benefit. By maintaining disciplined spending, exploring alternative funding mechanisms, and making careful investment decisions, we can protect our financial stability and position Beaufort to thrive even in these challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the second row before I move to the third? All righty, third row. Fourth row. Fifth row. Am I running out of rows, Christy? Is there a sixth one? I can't see. Last row. Is there anybody in the overflow? No one's in the overflow. Okay. Seeing that there's no further public comment on the financing of the fuel farm, can I get a motion to close the floor to public comment?
So move.
Got a motion on the floor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I want to thank each and every one of you for having the ability to come up and speak about this topic. I want to thank you for coming out because your voices are very valuable to us. So now we're going to move on to old business. The first one is the wastewater allocation at 302 Island Drive.
Thank you.
And this is Donovan Willis.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I'm standing in for Sam Bell, Town Engineer, to present this information to you. Sam is not available tonight. This is for 302 Island Drive. This was, in the previous meeting, was tabled, I believe pending additional information. And I believe that information was provided by Sam Bell. Any additional questions, I'm happy to try to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Donovan about the 302 Island Drive? Seeing that there is none. You did a great job. Sam has prepped you so well. All righty. So I'll just encourage the board to deliberate amongst themselves, as we'll be asking for action to approve or not approve the 240 gallons per day of sewer capacity for 302 Island Drive for a single-family home.
I have a couple questions, and I think it actually applies to the two requests that we have tonight, 302 and 308. I presume this comes somewhere between the question to Matt or Ari. What obligation and what agreement do we have from a town to provide these services?
Commissioner, none whatsoever. We have an agreement from 2014 to service certain customers of the former Deerfield utility system at that time, but it does not extend to new customers.
So both of these are not included in that original 2014 town obligation?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, I'm in, and are there other lots that are similar to this? Is there a specific number of lots that we have a commitment from 2014?
Yes, sir, but they were existing customers at the time, so they continue to be existing customers. We did not agree to service any particular number of new lots or new customers. It was just the existing customers at the time.
Okay. I'm in favor of providing sewer service where we can, especially considering the alternatives. But I think we have to at least understand whether this is an obligation and that it is. And judging upon the material that was provided by Sam, we also have to start thinking about the future, how we handle future requests, and try to, in my opinion, be very fair on that, including the costs that it may take to increase some of the service and pump services there. And I know Sam detailed some of that. The other thing that I don't quite understand is this, if there's some way, obviously the use has been extremely low based on the number of connections that we have, and I don't know whether there's any way to work that math into our approval process. I don't think there is, because it's 60 gallons of, the allocation has to be by the state law, does it not? It has to be the 60 gallons per bedroom per house.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm in favor of sewer services. The question is where, when, and how.
Any further comments from the board? Yes, ma'am.
I agree with your thoughts on this matter, Commissioner Oliver. I was looking back at Sam's synopsis of our wastewater treatment capacity from the last meeting, and you know, we almost have about 150 houses at Deerfield that could potentially, or lots that could potentially be developed and need service, and we only have room for about 392 houses to serve before we hit that 80% threshold where the state starts watching us, and we have to come up with a plan. So that is a bit concerning to me, even though the request is small, and I'm not sure how to reconcile those two lines of thinking.
So I would agree that I think we need a plan. I just wonder, with these two requests that we have tonight, they are very small allocations, if we should move forward with approving these tonight and then move forward with a plan, because we don't have one in place. So I do feel like we're being kind of picking and choosing right now, which we can, and this is outside of our town limits. But I wonder if, with the small allocation tonight, if these can be approved, and then we can work through that plan. Just a thought.
Would we need to set some type of, I don't want to say moratorium, but pause on granting additional sewer capacity to the lots in Deerfield in the meantime while we complete our wastewater study that we're starting?
Since we don't have one yet, I'm not sure I'd feel comfortable doing it tonight for these two properties, but I think if we wanted to do that going forward, we could.
Yeah, after we approve these two, could we say, you know, pause on approvals for Deerfield, or, well, I guess it would be the same for Beaufort Club for that matter. No, not Beaufort Club, that wouldn't. Eastman's Creek, excuse me.
I'm really concerned about adding additional lots in that community that are just new development lots. These are parcels that are outside the town ETJ. They're not within town limits. The town doesn't have any real obligation to provide the services to these lots. And I think it starts to set a precedent. So I think we decide today, if we're going to decide that we're setting a precedent that we're not going to start bringing in lots outside of the town's ETJ, that we make that decision today. If we think that we're starting to bump up against capacity limits, I think we need to take a hard look at that and make a stance that, you know, we have other projects or other things in our community within the town that have precedent that may be in the pipeline that we'd like to see within town limits and to allocate sewer to that. We shouldn't be, I think, allocating sewer just to parcels that are outside town limits and outside the town ETJ just because it's there. I think with Deerfield, the town had entered into that type of agreement because of the sewer system out there failing. That was a package system for that community. The town did kind of step in as good stewards to try to help out that community and help out existing homeowners. And I could see that if there's an existing homeowner, the town basically, possibly making that exception. But for brand-new lots, I don't think the town has any obligation to ground sewer. That's my opinion.
Are you speaking of even the two that looking for approval tonight?
Correct.
Because you're saying that we really don't have any obligation to that area at all. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think it could set a precedent of more people applying, and then, like I said, picking and choosing.
Yes, sir.
As my fellow commissioners know, because I've inundated them with material, I've spent an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out what our sewer capacity is, and got a lot of help from our staff, from Greg Churchill with Rivers, and was involved in that in the early days when we had no sewer allocation. So I do have some opinions on it. Right now, about a third of our 75% capacity of our sewer plant is servicing sewer effluent. And 2/3 is servicing stormwater. And that report is in Sam's report, which you requested a copy of last time. And it showed, one of the interesting things is that it shows, of course, that some of our greatest demand at the sewer plant happens to be at the same time we have high tide. Mm-hmm. Well, high tide is not effluent, high tide is stormwater. And in what I rudely called cliff notes of studying the sewer system, I listed everything that I heard from staff and from our professional engineers. And there were about 12 items that were listed on that page. One of which was I believe, the WER study, which we just approved at the last sitting of this board. In addition to talking about this approval tonight and the sensitivity of this, I think we need to ask staff to dramatically increase grant requests in order to address the other 10 or 12 items that we can do in addition to the improvements that we're going to get out of the USDA fund, so that we can continue to see a reduction of the stormwater input into our sewer plant. That, to me, is the most important thing that we can do in the very short term, is start looking for money to handle stormwater, because that will address this problem. I said in my report, and I'll say it very clearly tonight, we do not have a sewer capacity problem. We have a stormwater I&I problem, and we need to instruct staff to gain grants, address, together with the $30 million that we're spending in USDA funding, which will take, I think their best estimate from Sam was, 3 or 4 years before we start to see any. We have to have a year's average. We have to get all the work done. So 4 years from now, y'all will be able to see what we've gotten out of we have some estimates, but until we see the water flow down from the essence of the stormwater problem, we can't count on that. But I honestly feel that we do not have a sewer effluent capacity problem. We have a stormwater problem. I do think that I would join with John tonight in saying that until we can get our hands on that issue, until we can lay out a long-term plan for how we handle stormwater, how we protect the capacity that's so critical to this community, I think we have a hard time being generous, being good neighbors, but I think we have a hard time approving out-of-town sewer connections to a resource which is so critical to this community. I'm sorry to be so long-winded, Mayor.
Well said. Any follow-ups? It looks like we're having a little bit of,
I'm sorry, I couldn't
I'd
hear
say
you.
just with your conversation, how would you like to proceed with this particular request?
Well, I'm the only short-term person on this board not up for reelection, so I'll take the hit. I'll make a reluctant motion, painful motion, of denying this request for services outside the town for which we have no sewer obligation.
This is for the 302 Island Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've got a motion on the floor. I'm going to call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right?
Nay.
Nay.
Got 2 noes, 3 yes, motion carries.
Hate it.
Now we're going to move on to the F3 Marina Draft Contract. Mr. Grady?
Yes, ma'am,
defer to you.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. I'm prepared to take the board and the public through the contract, whatever detail the board would like. Our final edits were made last week and were sent to F3, and F3 had no further edits and is prepared to accept the contract as presented this evening. It might be helpful if I hit the high points of the contract, if that's okay, Mayor, with you and the board.
Yes, sir.
Elizabeth's going to project it for us so everybody can follow along. We'll start on page 3, really, which is the heart of the matter. The town is going to appoint F3 as the exclusive manager of the Beaufort Town Docks, and F3 will accept such appointment. The term is for a 5-year term ending on December 31st of 2030. We've also made clear in this agreement that the agreement does not deal with the boardwalk. The boardwalk remains within the sole province of the town, so the general public can continue to use it as we have historically. Article 4 gets into the responsibilities of F3. F3 is going to be bound to operate a first-class marina and recreational facility offering diesel fuel, dockage, and other marina-related services at all times in accordance with applicable law. What are those services? Utilities, a courtesy vehicle, things that one would normally expect in a marina of this nature, and much of which tenants already receive. F3 is going to be in the position, and we can see this in 4.3, of actually collecting the revenue due the town. So if you dock out there and you swipe your card, it's actually going to go to F3, and then in turn, F3 is going to deposit all receipts in a segregated, dedicated bank account with a bank in Carteret County. That's just going to be, quote unquote, the town's money. And that money will be remitted to us on a monthly basis. We'll get into the cost in a minute. Other responsibilities of F3, you see in 4.4, they have all responsibilities for staffing and employment, their uniform requirements. Again, all employees will be hired and discharge their duties consistent with a first-class facility. Moving on to 4.6, I think this is particularly important, and we heard this from the BWOLF committee. Management reports. One thing that the town has lacked historically is hard data from the docks. Numbers of vessels, revenue receipts, vacancies, occupancy, and things like that. F3 is under the affirmative obligation to supply all of that information and more. Administer repairs and maintenance, 4.9, your routine maintenance, handyman type of stuff, F3 will be in charge of. I will note that if it is a more robust renovation or repair, F3 will do it, but there will be an additional management fee. For instance, if a whole dock had to be replaced from some casualty or whatnot. Signage, much of this was talked about. F3 will have signage, but it'll be in such a way that F3 is not emphasized at the expense of Beaufort Town Docks. So we want the focus to be Beaufort Town Docks, and there's an obligation throughout this agreement that we talk about Beaufort Town Docks. That's how we refer to this asset. It's not going to be referred to as F3 Beaufort or the F3 Marina in Beaufort or anything like that. Technology, F3 is going to employ some kind of reservation system generally available in the nation, such as MarinaGo, DocWalk, or something similar. And good faith, we expect everyone that deals with the town to operate in good faith with a standard of fair dealing, and certainly F3 will be under those obligations. Those are the highlights of what F3 is agreeing to do. There are many, many details in Article 4 on exactly what F3 does and how it does it. I'll stop right there to see if the commissioners have any questions before I move on further into the agreement.
Questions from down here? No?
Right.
Yeah.
Responsibilities of the town. We're going to use commercially reasonably efforts to enable F3 to operate and maintain the Beaufort Town Docks in a first-class condition. So what are we going to do? We're going to be a great partner. That's what we're going to do under the contract. We're going to give F3 all the support it needs to make this a successful venture. We're going to budget what we need to budget for upkeep and maintenance, and we're going to basically help F3 offer a first-class marina product. That's what we're doing, and that's our primary obligation. We're also under the affirmative duty to supply diesel fuel supply by April 1, and there's been much discussion about the fuel farm and the timelines for that, so that's a consistent concept. Article 6, basically the slip rental fees and how things are charged, and specifically what is charged, is the exclusive province of the town. The town sets the fee schedule, and the town gets to amend it periodically. F3, I'm sure will have input and will have an opinion, but at the end of the day, the proverbial buck stops with the town and this board. Operating budgets. The way this is envisioned to work is that each year with the town's budget process, F3 and the town will go through and create a town dock operating budget. Basically, what's it going to take to make this work on the expense side annually? And that'll look very much like a department budget, if you will, coming through the routine budget process. And then once the budget is set, everybody abides by it, i.e. F3 only spends what's allowed in the budget. If something unusual comes up, we sit down and talk about it and agree to those amendments, if any, in writing. I would expect amendments. I mean, things change. You guys handle budget amendments internally for the town at virtually every meeting, but I want to be clear that any changes are only with the authority and permission of this board, not unilateral by the marina operator. Let's see, marketing, this is a very important term that I believe to be near and dear to the board. F3 is under the obligation to undertake what we call an aggressive marketing program to inform the general public of the availability of the Beaufort Town docks. Also, it's to highlight other services and businesses that are available to folks staying at the Beaufort Town dock. Shops, restaurants, perhaps taxi services, whatever is out there, F3 is obligated to go out and market. And again, only market under the name of the Beaufort Town docks. The contract is very specific that F3 will create an integrated program highlighting area merchants and businesses which can provide services ancillary to the Beaufort docks, restaurants, supply stores, maritime services, hotel accommodations, and the like. The thought is when people stay at the Beaufort Town docks, we want them to be able to get whatever they need here. And we want them to know about it when they get here. Fees and expenses, I'm on Article 8 now. You're doing a great job. I appreciate that. We're paying them in arrears, and it's basically the revenue for, say, the month of August and the expenses for the month of August, and then we'll pay the management fee, which I believe is set at the 3%, if I'm right on that, against the revenues. And it's just a flat 3%. It's not, 3% plus or, some escalator depending on the amount of revenue. We do pay out of the revenue all these expenses that I've been talking about. So your staffing expenses, your marketing program expenses. But again, those are going to be in the operating budget, so we'll all know exactly what we're getting into. And obviously, the game plan is to have those revenues exceed the expenses. And that's why we have the budget process. Insurance is a very important article. Article 9, we want robust and ample insurance. We're talking numbers for liability in the amount of $10 million. So if there is an accident, heaven forbid, we want to make sure that F3's insurance kicks in and covers the town. The town will separately have its own insurance coverages. So if the town has any liability or responsibility, we can fall back on our coverages, but we want F3's coverages to cover F3's potential liability and also cover the town in that situation. So we've got dispute resolution. So hopefully if there is a dispute that can't be rectified through discussion, we'll go to mediation. Default and termination, certainly if there is a material default in the contract can be terminated, but we also have the ability to terminate for convenience. And let me spend a moment to explain that. Basically, we can terminate the contract for any or no reason upon 90 days written notice. And I think that's important. We're plowing some new ground here. And we have every confidence in F3 and its ability to execute, but in the event we do get into a situation that we can't fix, we can pull the plug and pivot and go elsewhere. There are several pages of what I would call typical lawyerly contractual boilerplate, which I can continue to go through, but I feel like I've worn out my welcome with the contract summary as it is. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may have or do a deeper dive into any particular provision.
Can I get a further explanation on A2, the expenses of on-site regular employees? it looks as if in terms of reimbursement, or like bonuses, holiday, paid vacation, I mean, and social security, retirement, those look like things that we do for our regular staff,
Yes, sir.
but we're not employing them.
No, sir, we're not employing the staff. The way this is set up to work is F3 is going to employ the staff. The staff's going to be on the F3 payroll, but we're going to reimburse F3 for those payroll expenses, whatever the wages and PTO and taxes might be.
I think the important thing is that we heard F3 during the interviews and follow-up that they really value hiring local people to fill the positions on the docks, and that was something that's really important to the town as well. That was one of the big positives about F3. And when they hire local people, we want them to treat them well. So we want them to have, you know, the benefits to be able to be gainfully employed. And so that was something that was important to us as well when we were interviewing F3. So that is, while they're not our employees, that will reflect highly on the town. Did I say that correctly?
But I would think that if an employee, say, come discouraged with F3, but they're gonna look at the town in terms of where they may want to, for legalities.
In that situation, that employee's sole recourse is against F3. I mean, that person is an F3 employee. The only thing that we have to do with employees is during the budget process, is setting the budget for the staffing and what that might look like and what that might entail, what type of benefits are offered and things like that. So we really, in this situation, will have nothing to do with the day-to-day employees.
But that's now another larger budget item that we have to add in terms of however many employees that they hire.
Yes, sir.
And the rate.
Sir?
And the rates. You'll approve the entire budget, just like you do any other operation of the town. It's a town operation managed by them.
The analogy to a department budget is not perfect, but it's pretty close. I mean, you know, when you look at it as a operating budget, you have to almost look at it as a department of the town and drill down into that level of granular detail, as we like to say.
Okay. So, Matt, at what time did they come on? Will we be having operational fees available for this? Especially as we go into next year's budget?
So is your question, when would we see revenue?
Yes, sir.
Well, it depends on when you initiate the contract. It's currently proposed for January 1st of 2026. So any dollar that's collected after the sunset of Mr. Haywood Weeks's contract, which is 12/31, you would initiate into a management contract effective January 1st.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And actually, there's one other catch in there, Melvin, that whatever date we settle on as an effective date, all those budgeting items are to be provided and agreed prior to that effective date. So if you start at January 1, I think they wanted to start November 1. So between August, September, and October, all of those budgets would have to be set and agreed to before the effective date of November 1, assuming it started in January.
Yes, sir.
Clear as mud. Commissioner LaPiccolo?
I think it's important. I think the town, a lot of people have been asking this about the contract with F3, and whereas under the previous contract with the current provider, the public really had no right to access the docks. In this contract, except for the goodwill of the operator who would let people pull up to the docks, within this contract, there's a provision that says, provided, however, that the town may designate certain areas of the Beaufort Town docks for public access free of charge for dockage times not exceeding 3 hours. So I think that's an important thing for the town to know, that the board has been working towards that and trying to make sure that public has the rights and access, it's written into this contract. A second question I have that I just kind of came across, under the responsibilities of the town and the diesel fuel supply and then the slip rentals and other fees, it doesn't specifically state how or who would change the rates periodically to update the diesel prices, or who would set the prices for the fuel. So I'm not sure if that needs to be in here, but I would think the town would want to be the one setting the prices, I'd imagine.
That's right, and my knee jerk would be it's under the fee schedule that we'd have to develop some methodology for updating based on the per gallon supply cost. Matt, do you have any?
Yeah, there would be two interpretations of this. So if you're hiring the management company whose areas of expertise and 100% of their municipal locations are providers of fuel, we would tend to lean on that individual to scour the environment, compare market analysis, and set a rate that is competitive. So I would recommend that you're allowing the dock master and/or that management team to set that. For example, you can also put in bumpers, if you will, keeping you between a ditch and the median, similar that you do to my office, where you have a threshold, you have the capacity and ability, you want to maintain a certain minimum. So I think that both answers are accurate. You can have a simple and clear, you allow the management company to do that, or during your budgetary process, you can, for example, if you wanted to set a minimum of 25 cents or a minimum of X, but in my professional opinion, allowing that team that is in that space on a daily basis to try to leverage it. It's in our interest and their interests to generate those.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's clear by whom is in charge of setting that fee, and that there's a specific formula that we're following that makes it fair and clear even to the public.
Sure.
So it's not just that they can, that the town can raise it at a certain point, or that the management company can raise it to what they like, that there's a specific formula involved.
So you would retain that capacity and ability during your annualized schedule if you want, or you can always come back and make adjustments throughout the year if you need to. But you would, again, by the rate schedule, I think Commissioner Oliver said, you're setting those very similar to what we do on our fee schedule.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
I believe so.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, I was actually going to say what Commissioner LaPiccolo said about the public access for 3 hours. That was very important to the commissioners, and you beat me to it, so thanks, Commissioner LaPiccolo. I want to say thank you to Matt and Ari. They have worked very hard on this contract, and I think it is great, and I think it has what we want in it, to have a really good partnership with F3. And so you guys, you made that happen. I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, sir.
Since I was named directly by Barry, I want to put it on the record that the reason for my vote, as he knew that night, was because I had sincerely hoped that F3 would have been willing and capable of bringing skin to the game for the money that we're getting ready to borrow, which they made the business decision not to, and that was my reason for that negative vote. I'm very much in favor of this contract. I've read it, reread it, provide input. I think BWOF and the attorney and Matt have done an excellent job with it. There are some things that we still have to decide on. One is we have got to think through and gain the confidence of how we might have a diesel fuel supply problem for the first 3 or 4 or 5 months of this contract. And the second, we need to discuss the start date.
That's right.
But other than that, I am fully in favor of it.
Commissioner Oliver, can I ask you, when you say the first few months of this contract,
I can't hear you.
So when you said we may have an issue with fuel for the first few months of this contract, do you mean like starting January 1?
Well, as I understand it, and anybody can correct me if it's wrong, right now, the only contract that I know of is to the present operator to and through the end of December of this year. And I don't know whether I don't know what we're going to be able to do, what F3 will be able to do after that fuel supply until the new tank is up and running. So that's the period I'm talking about.
We do have in the contract that we will have fuel available to them starting April 1.
As of April,
I can't remember, do you know what section that's in?
and April 1st.
It's under Article 4, Section 5.4, and the date's wrong. Can we do 2026 on that one?
Oh.
Okay.
So I do believe, and I know Matt's not here right now, but the F3 has agreed to this contract, and they're well aware of the April 1 start date for fuel.
Correct.
Yes, and we talked about if we didn't meet the April 1, which I certainly hope we will, but when we're looking at permitting the tanks, we would also talk about permitting a temporary above-ground tank or have tankers to come in to fuel the boats. So having a little bit of flexibility with discussion of some of those items during the permitting phase.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
all those items. We just
Yeah.
haven't, we just don't know how long it's gonna be.
Right.
Or if it'll be. So that and the start date are the things only open that I see in the F3 contract.
So if we were taking over on November the 1st,
No. What this is.
What, F3?
Well,
F3.
F3, there's a discussion when F3 will take over, but one of the times that they talked about was taking over on January, that they would be here and their agreement would be effective 60 days ahead of time, which would be November 1st. So their effective date of this contract will be November 1st.
Correct. So they're going to take over no later than January 1, 2026, because Haywood's last day is December 31st. And so if that were the case, they would need a 60-day ramp-up period, which would begin November 1st of this year. So that's why the contract would start November 1.
Made it back just in time. So we still have to iron out that start date.
Yes.
And right now,
But it would be, Mayor Harker, it would be no later than January
January
1,
1.
2026.
okay. All righty. I don't see, can we just continue to discuss that or now?
We do have one item in closed session that may affect the start date. So assuming the board's ready to move forward with approving the final contract tonight, I might suggest that we do so after the closed session so we can nail that start date down, if that's okay, Mayor.
Okay. But then we'll come back into open session to discuss that. All righty.
Can I say one more thing on this topic before we move on?
Yes.
We haven't really said it. I do want to recognize the current operator, Haywood Weeks, for all of the work that he has done for the Beaufort docks. You know, he has managed it for over 50 years, and we do, because I don't know if everybody will be here after we come back. I just want to recognize that he has done an excellent job for this town, and we do want to thank him and recognize him for his service for almost 50 years.
Thank you, Sarah. That's greatly appreciated. All right, so we're going to come back and put a pin in that. So we're going to move on to the Gadet Hotel, the 400 Pollock Street. There's an encroachment agreement. We're going to get an update. And Ari, you're on tap for that.
Yep. Mayor and board, this is my update meeting by meeting on the blow-by-blow on the Cadet Hotel and the status of the encroachment agreement. As I reported at the last meeting, we had received back some edits to our initial draft of the encroachment agreement. Those edits were from the owner and the owner's lawyer. Those red lines were included in your agenda packet. For the most part, were fairly innocuous and were, at least from my perspective, acceptable. The one place that I countered with some additional language was the concept of what I would call a temporary removal of the overhang of the patio, second floor patio. If you're going to remove it because you're renovating the thing, we understand that. Typically, if you remove an encroachment, you're not allowed to put the encroachment back. But under this situation with the historical building and the deck being an integral component of that, if you remove it because you're rehabilitating or repairing, we just want it to move along at what I call a commercially reasonable time period without unreasonable or undue delay. That's actually language that the owner had proposed in a different context in the agreement on pursuing repairs. So with those additional comments of mine, and of course input from the board, I think the agreement is very close to final. The next thing that we would need to do, again, assuming the agreement is final or close to final, is to actually get the time horizon from the owner. We still do not have that. What's going to happen next? What's the sequence going to be? When is this building going to be rehabilitated? Because as we've said for some months now, we'll agree to the form of the encroachment agreement, but we're not going to sign it and turn it over until we know what the schedule is going to be on this building. So with that, Mayor, I'm glad to answer any questions the board may have.
And there's no way for us to set that tone instead of waiting around for them to tell us when they are going to be able to get this property done, because we've been waiting for some time now already. Can we kind of push the narrative as to what our expectations are?
Yes, ma'am. I mean,
Okay.
I think the missing component right now is exactly what is going to be done with the building. What is the intended end use? And I think the answer to that question dictates how it gets approved through planning and inspections. And so once you know the end use, I think we can, with staff, be very helpful. This is what you need to do. These are the sequencing of the milestones and what needs to happen when and how. But without knowing exactly what that intended final product is, there are multiple paths that could go through the LDO and the rest of the town ordinances.
Any questions from anybody?
I have one question.
Yes, sir?
In the third whereas, they added comma and historic two-story building.
Yes, sir.
Are we making any representation or confirming any fact that is in any way detrimental to our well-being by allowing that?
No, sir, not in my opinion.
Okay. Other than that, I make a motion to approve the amended agreement as drafted.
Okay.
And with the execution and delivery subject to the timeline we've just described.
Yes.
Which will come back to this board to be approved.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions before we go through the motion?
No more than at our July the 14th meeting, did we not discuss about that timeline and putting it out there for her?
Yes, sir, we did. You might recall that the owner came back and said, I'll sit down and talk with you about the timeline when we have the encroachment agreement done.
So she's pushing it.
Yes, sir.
This is a nail with a piece of Jell-O that we're trying to put on it.
I'm not in favor of, her dictating to us versus us dictating to her.
Yes, sir, understood. And if you would like to dictate, the way to dictate is through the town's demolition authority.
Yeah, currently, the building is condemned. It already is
Yeah,
condemned.
it's been condemned for years.
Exactly. So I think, it's important to note that the town has made multiple attempts to try to aid the owner in rehabilitation of the building. And this is just another one of these attempts to try to work with the owner for rehabilitation. And, it's kind of a disservice. The building's kind of falling in upon itself. If it were to fall over and fall in, it would be, terrible for the community. The community thinks of this building as a historic site, and we'd like to see it preserved. So hopefully, if we can allow this agreement, because this is what the owner thinks they need to move forward, we'd like to work with that owner, like to kind of make those steps and put those steps in place. And then the onus is on the owner to then complete that with a timeline. And this is out in the open, the public can see it. There's nothing hiding here. We're doing this out in the open for everyone to see and hear. And I really hope that the owner, makes that effort to move this forward. And if not them, then possibly Preservation North Carolina can help hopefully step in and maybe find us someone else to move this forward. So I think it's important that we approve this and let the town know that we are trying to make this happen and we're trying to see this rehabilitation through.
With expectations that it's going to be sooner versus later. Now, I understand that she doesn't have an idea as to what the property will become, whether it's a hotel or any of those things. What I'm really concerned about is that we have hurricane season that keeps coming up. The building's condition is very iffy, and I don't want to see the building fall down. As we continue to belabor this point, and the history that's connected with this building, like Commissioner LaPiccolo said, is very valuable. So I'm not sure if this encroachment agreement does it for me, in the sense that, yes, okay, we're giving you the opportunity to come up with this plan, but when is that plan going to be, is what I'm looking for, because the building's on borrowed time, the history is on borrowed time, and it just doesn't give me the surety that this is going to move any quicker than the snail pace that it's already been moving at.
I see it as just another delay tactic on her part. That's how I see it. And I just feel that she just, once again, is trying to dictate to us. There's been contact after contact with her, and she just seemingly just wants to delay. And we'll be right back. If we can continue on that road, we will be right back here next year talking about this very same subject.
Can we put a timeline on the
Yes.
timeline?
Yes. Can we put a timeline on the encroachment?
That's where I am.
Yeah. It's
And
got to be, you've
I'll
got this
amend my
for 90
motion to
days.
say
Yeah,
that this
thank you.
be provided to them, and within 30 days of the delivery of this, we have an acceptable, a date, a plan and a date acceptable to this board.
I like that. I like
I
that.
would like to hear from Ari on your recommendation of a deadline for the timeline, because you've been working and going back and forth with the attorney. How fast has that been? Do you think 30 days is feasible, or?
I think 30 days is a very reasonable time horizon, and the other lawyer has been fairly responsive. So I think 30 days is probably sufficient.
30
Again,
days.
it's a pretty direct path once you figure out what you're going to do with the building, what you have to do. And there will have to be some cushion in any timeline, because things get delayed.
Yeah, we've heard that.
Shocker there, but
Yeah.
to have that timeline sketched out within 30 days, I think is absolutely a reasonable time horizon.
And how will Preservation North Carolina be notified of this timeline or learn about this timeline? Because I would like them to be aware.
They're in the loop with all the communications.
With all the
They're
communications.
being
Okay, good.
Copied with everything, and apparently they've got their own timelines that they're working on. So ideally, when the dust settles, we'd have one set of timelines that everybody can abide by. But of course, our focus is on our timelines and what the town needs to see.
Okay. And the purpose of asking that is that Preservation North Carolina could be poised to take a next step if they needed to get
Correct.
involved further.
Correct.
They need to.
Well, that may be the possibility, but still, a timeline is very important, and thank you for amending that motion. Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification on the motion at hand. Today is the 11th of August. Are you asking that we identify to the property owner that she has 30 days to respond to the town, which would put it approximately September 11th. And then your next conversation on this wouldn't occur until Monday, the 22nd, which would be your workshop session. I just want to ask for clarity in instructions, because if you want to cover it on September 8th, it would have to be due to us earlier.
I'm okay with
I
No.
mean, work session's
I don't-
fine.
I don't-
Just making sure everybody's on
work
the same
session.
page.
Yeah.
I hate it. I agree with you. I know it's going to do it, but I just think the 30-day in the trade is a reasonable time of action.
It's a pretty customary time horizon.
Right.
So when we discussed the 30-day period, I would recommend that she would have till 5 PM on September 15th.
Right.
If she does by then that gives us time to include it in your agenda packet.
Okay.
Or you can set it for Friday, the 12th of September, but I'm just asking if you give a clear, hard deadline,
Be specific.
September
Very-
September 15th.
then that helps
Absolutely.
us, is that for the clerk, we need to back into our operational procedure. So if you can amend that, September 15th, ma'am, would be an appropriate time for us to get it into your agenda packet.
Okay,
Thank you.
5 PM, September 15th.
all right.
Is that what you suggested?
That's specific enough.
All righty. So
So-
we've got a motion that's been amended twice. And are we clear on what that motion is? Thank you. All right, unless there's any further questions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to public comments. Do we have anybody sign up for public comment?
Yes, ma'am. First
Okay.
one is Barry Slade.
There, you back on deck again.
So I'm still Barry Slade, still residing at 109 Planters Way. Are you sick of me yet? I've actually got a few different comments. First of all, Commissioner Oliver, thank you for that clarification on your vote. I appreciate you stating the reasons there, and I trust that you and the rest of the board are now comfortable that those two items, the marina management and the fuel farm, are in proper sync to be on a timeline that matches the timeline that the BWAF has put together and recommended, that you've accepted, that would move it all forward. I'd also like to thank the town staff for the negotiations that have taken place to get us to this point on the F3 agreement. And then finally, I wanted to add on the fuel piece, the BWAF carefully considered the timing of the fuel tank installation, and it was the January, February, March timeframe, because little, if any, fuel is sold in our marina here during those 3 months. So that is the most likely and favorable time to install the tanks. Just an additional point. And just kind of finishing up, change is never easy, and we're changing the some things here, but it's necessary to keep up with the times. I've heard from a few citizens, neighbors, hey man, this is what's going on here, and they're concerned, but one of the things I want to leave with the citizens is that just reassurance that the changes in this agreement and moving forward are very favorable for the town of Beaufort. Much of the change won't even be visible to someone walking the docks, but they carry tremendous weight. Updated accounting, marketing, budgeting won't be obvious to the public, but they'll allow the town to better manage our priceless waterfront. Having a manager like F3 gives us access to the latest trends in national marina operations while working hand in hand with our local citizens, downtown businesses, as Yuri pointed out, to reach collective success. Our financial arrangement with F3 is designed to benefit Beaufort, not the manager. They'll operate with complete transparency, real-time information available to the town and its people. Simply put, F3 works for the town. I think that was stated, just as they do in municipal marinas nationwide, and they serve the interests of the town and our people. They're a smaller company. They specialize in this, and after paying them a modest fee for their services, the town receives 100% of the marina's net proceeds. And I will tell you that the contract that's been negotiated, I've been a part of many of these, The industry average is a bit higher than what you guys have done, so great work on the negotiations for the fee. Again, marinas nationwide are capturing this revenue. Why shouldn't we? The town owns this asset, and we shouldn't be handing the financial benefits over to someone other than the citizens. So anyway, things won't look much different. You may see some new faces, uniforms on the dock, but the service will be positive and professional. So I know I'm over my time, but thank you.
Okay,
and thank you all for your support.
All right, appreciate it. And who do we have next?
Joey McClure.
Joey. Hi.
Right, my name's Joey McClure, address, downtown Beaufort, whatever. I'm owner, manager, operator, whatever, of Fishtown Brew House. And good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, staff. I want to just address something. I want to thank you for how you've tried to be fair in dealing with the food truck issue. I appreciate how y'all care about our Beaufort businesses. It seems that there's been some concern raised that potentially giving Fishtown a grace period to operate a food truck for only 4.5 months is showing favoritism. And I just want to remind the board that no other business is being affected by this ordinance like Fishtown is. There is no other business who needs to use a public parking space for a food truck. There is really very few of us that are inviting food trucks to come to town here. Therefore, Fishtown is really the only business that's being penalized by the ordinance. So how would that be favoritism? Just wanted to address that. If anything, it seems the opposite. I mean, how would it be favoritism if the town gives the only business being penalized a grace period to somehow figure out another solution and prevent their business from harm? Or put another way, how would it be just to change what's been allowed for 7 years without giving some kind of a grace period for the only business really affected by this ordinance? So if no food trucks on any public property in Beaufort is really the best solution for the town and its citizens, then please at least give Fishtown the next 4.5 months to have the opportunity to get through this year and have some time to figure out next steps on that. So thank you guys very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mike Bradley.
I'm going to withdraw, nothing more to add.
Okay, thank you.
Adam Greco.
Okay. What was the last name? You can tell us, Adam.
My whole family says it different.
Can you repeat that again, Adam?
Thank you all. Never been to one of these meetings, but I have been here for.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be welcome.
And for your record, can you state your address, please?
My address is 113 Finch Loop.
Thank you.
That's my mailing address. I live on Adams Creek Road. About the Gaudette Hotel, I've only been here for 2 years, and I think if anybody's lived here, you've passed by that building a lot. And I learned a little bit about the story of it. Don't know the whole story, so forgive me if I'm making assumptions. I spent a little time in South Dakota a few years ago on a Native American reservation, and I learned something there that I think is analogous to this situation, maybe. Like I said, I don't know the woman who owns the hotel, but concerning the natives, a lot of people ask why they don't accept help from us. And that's a big question, and after talking to a lot of them and living there for several months, I learned that it's very difficult to trust people despite the fact that they may have good intentions based on the history. And they may be helped by it, but after treaties were broken and promises were made, they don't accept a lot of help. And the particular reservation I was at lived in squalor. But yet they want to do things for themselves. The Lakota natives that I met. And I don't know the woman, and I just wanted to encourage y'all, as you make legislation and you make decisions about encroachment, which I don't even really know what that is. I work construction, so I have an idea. But as you're making decisions about this particular hotel, which we all know has historical significance for some more than others, just please keep in mind that the woman who owns it may have some reservations, and you can push it through. And I don't know what she's afraid of, but I do know that I can have some ideas about it. The natives don't want people giving money and then strings attached because they've been there before. And the weight of the significance of that particular building in this particular area of demographics, to some people, is pretty weighty. And living on Adams Creek Road and seeing all the black folk that live there and not seeing them down here and living here for 2 years, it's pretty shocking to somebody who doesn't live here a whole lot or hasn't lived here a long time. Seems pretty segregated. And I just want to encourage y'all to remember that we all came here the same and we're all going out the same. And please try to have as much respect for this lady as you can. And again, I'm making a lot of assumptions. I don't know the lady, and I don't know why she's held on to that building for so long, but I can make some guesses. And so it's beyond valuable to many of our community who may not be represented here. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? All right, thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to new business. We've got the food truck, the temporary waiver request, and we have Mr. Garner to present on that.
Don't worry, Mayor, I only have a 45-slide PowerPoint presentation.
I expect no less.
I figured you would.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. And what we do have for you this evening that came out of our workshop is a food truck temporary waiver request. I am not going to say that fast, I can promise you.
Understood.
So, again, some background. During the July 28th, 2025 work session, the board directed our town staff to develop some criteria that would allow a temporary waiver of enforcement on food trucks at specific locations. Since the workshop, our staff did develop that criteria. We reached out to potential applicants, posted on town social media and on our website, and to date, we have had 2 requests that submitted for the board's consideration, which again are included in your agenda packet for your consideration. So our criteria that we came up with was and a good portion of this, I'll give a lot of credit to our town manager, Mr. Zapp, working with us on that, is that an applicant shall submit a formal letter to the town of Beaufort requesting temporary permission to operate a mobile food vendor on public property. That's any public property. The letter should include the following: the request for a specific location, an exact parking space by number, a map exhibit of the area for the board to be considered. Also, a list of each mobile food vendor that would be included under that temporary waiver. Also, with the understanding that this would be good for a period through December 31st, 2025. So the slide that I have before you right now is the public notification that Ms. Johnson put out for public viewing. It was on our website. It was also on social media platform. So I'd also like to thank her for doing that, because she certainly did that in a very timely manner, and we appreciate that. So our first applicant that we had, which has already spoke during public comment, Mr. McClure, Fishtown Brew House, is at 133B Turner Street, and they did submit a letter of request for a temporary waiver within an individual parking space. The applicant's information included a list of all food truck users within a specified parking space and included the map and exhibit. And based on the information that was provided, the location would be a loading-unloading zone in a space number 232, extending to the 15-minute parking space in front of 133B Turner Street. And we do have the actual request from Mr. McClure for Fishtown. His map to the right of that, which highlights the area that he would be requesting, which is the marked loading zone in front of the driveway in the 15-minute spot. We have some photos that were also included with his application showing the exact location. Hence, you can see the photo to the right that's a little angled, representing space 232. And then, Mr. McClure, I added my own slide to show where the vicinity of that area would be from an aerial photo view for the board to get a reference point for other businesses and properties within the area. So that's request number one. We also had a request from another applicant, which is the Beaufort Spirits Company at 513 Front Street. They also submitted a letter and provided us with a list of their food truck users, and we have maps for the parking space that they are requesting. And based on that information, the location would be a parking space number 905. It's used as a golf cart parking space in front of 513 Front Street. We have the letter that was submitted by the applicant and their list of food truck operators. We have the photo of where that space is in front of the building. And we also have an aerial photo showing where that location would be along the Front Street corridor. So you have before you tonight two requests. And so what we are asking from the board on the temporary waiver is that you discuss the two applicants that have been provided to you this evening, ask questions for us, and we'll try to answer as best that we can. And then hopefully we can have a decision on this evening. So Mayor, at this time, I'll try to answer the best that I can.
Okay.
I thought we were trying to keep food trucks off of Front Street.
Sir?
I thought we were trying to keep food trucks off of Front Street.
Well, from what the board asked on the 25th and what was asked from the board that people have the opportunity to apply, that's why you had the actual second application, to give
Commissioner-
everyone an opportunity. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Cooper, I think maybe after my comment, it'll kind of support the question that you just asked. I want to share with everyone an excerpt of an email that I sent to the business owner in town that is pretty upset about us potentially demonstrating favoritism to the food truck in front of Fishtown. So I just wanted to share that with everyone because it only went to the Board of Commissioners and the person who is concerned. So I said, I understand why you have concerns about one business receiving a grace period when they received one in the past. My main concern is the town being accountable to itself, the public, and staff for continuing to delay revision of the ordinance after staff have committed a substantial amount of time and effort to moving forward with an update. The commissioners chose to roll the issue down the road, and I feel we must take responsibility and be accountable for how the business has been able to operate this way for years. It's not the business's fault that we chose not to enforce the food truck, and the food truck has become an integral part of their operations in the meantime. If the town has let this issue go on for as long as we have, I feel we owe it to the business to allow them to continue through the end of the busy summer season at least, which we've decided is going to be longer. I would only agree that food trucks could continue without a repeat of the axe throwing, that there was a complaint about axe throwing. Furthermore, I do not think the business should continue with the food trucks until the itinerant merchant piece of the LDO is complete, which may or may not allow food trucks on public property under special circumstances. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And so when we were talking about this last time, the question came up, well, what if we get an application for Front Street? And I said, well, I'm going to deny because I feel like we just owe this one business who really depends on this food truck and it's the integral part. I think we should take responsibility of how we've delayed it for so long and go ahead and grant this waiver. And I would request that we wouldn't grant it to the one on Front Street, because I don't think that was the intent of the grace period, but we were trying to make the language in the ordinance broad enough so we wouldn't get ourselves in trouble legally. So I understand why we did that, but the intention was not necessarily to grant an application for a food truck on Front Street that has been operating food trucks in the back and being able to benefit from food trucks on that private property.
Yeah, because I was understanding that when we were holding that discussion, that Front Street, we were trying to protect the businesses on Front Street and not allow food trucks to be competing with the restaurants on Front Street. And that's why I asked that question. And I agree that we shouldn't. I mean, Turner Street is one thing, but I think particularly on Front Street where you have a lot of already, there's restaurants and now you want to add a food truck to compete with that business is just, I mean, it's just a disservice to the restaurants and other food industries along on Front Street.
Any further comments to my left?
Yeah, I
Right.
kind of disagree. I think, overwhelmingly, we had responses and letters from the community saying how much they like food trucks in town and that food trucks were great and important and they enjoyed having them in our community. I think to kind of pick and choose, and at the last meeting, the last work session, I was kind of against doing this. And partly was because I felt like it was being done in haste and it was being done without much thought. Because I think by allowing one spot in one location for a food truck, we're basically saying, with the way that this is written, 24/7, a food truck could be at that location for anyone. And is it the business owner who's going to basically regulate that spot of a town property to decide who comes into that spot each time? Or is it the town that's going to regulate who comes into that spot? So I think that sets up kind of a little bit of an issue of I really don't understand how that would be run. I mean, basically, we're going to allow a private business owner to dictate who comes and sets up in front of that property when it's truly public property. So I think it's kind of difficult and it's kind of confusing the way that this is written. This is why I really wanted to have it set up so that each request was based on the food truck with the town. And the town is the one in charge of understanding when we're going to allow a food truck in a specific location, whether it be Front Street, whether it be Turner Street, at a specific time, so that it's not just a food truck rodeo, basically, all the time. And I think just allowing one location for one person, when we did open it to the entire community inside of service, I don't think we should just be picking winners and losers. The way I look at it, like I said, the town has responded with emails to us in overwhelming, I thought, saying how much they do enjoy food trucks. So I don't understand why a food truck in one location that's just a stone's throw away from another one is really all that difficult if we're going to approve one and then not approve another. But I do have a problem with understanding how we're going to just allow, I guess, a 24/7 availability of a food truck to just pull onto that location. I guess it's just going to be, just let it go. Just let it happen and then let it rip and see what happens from there. It's 6 months. If you guys want to go for it, you just go ahead and go for it.
But John, is basically with Fishtown, they're the one that pretty much is regulating who's coming there because they have the food truck operator has to contact them or they schedule them for various times to come there and park. So it's not just it's not where any food truck is going to just pull up.
The property in front of their location is public property. It's not their property.
No, it's not their property, but it's not allowing any truck to just pull up there as well. I mean, if I had a food truck, I couldn't pull up there unless I got permission from the owner to be there.
Nope, that's not true.
But that's the standard we would
I
take.
guess that's the way I'm reading this. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
Fishtown is providing their customer with something that they don't do. They do not serve food in their facility. So it's allowing them, their customers, on a given weekend, and yes, people do love food trucks. And so he's providing a service to his customers on a Friday and a Saturday to have a taste of various food trucks that is available. So I have no qualms in extending the temporary waiver for him, but I must protect Turner Street. Front Street, rather. So Front Street restaurants, as we have said in the past, that we need to protect them with food trucks, because if we allow it, it could be a flood of open up Pandora box, and a lot of other food trucks started wanting to come in and ask for waivers.
I think.
So, I was just going to say, in terms of this, because what we're talking about right now is this short-term waiver for the next 4.5 months. So just focusing on that right now, I would, for all the reasons stated, support the waiver for the food trucks that will utilize the space in front of Fishtown. I think that makes sense, giving them a grace period for the next 4.5 months. In terms of the application for Front Street, I'm more hesitant to grant that one because this board in the past has talked a lot about not wanting to have food trucks on Front Street. Commissioner LaPickle, I agree with you. I'm one of those people that thinks food trucks are great. I think they're a great price point for somebody like me that can't go out to dinner all the time in Beaufort. But we have consistently said that we don't think that Front Street is the best option for them. For the reasons that's been said, the traffic, all of that, and that's still how I feel today, so that's why I would be less hesitant to grant the second application.
The most important thing I want to know is what day is the peach cobbler factory going to be there, Joey?
They're stuck in Moorhead right now, Bucky. I see them constantly at the brisket place there.
Social.
They're there just about every Friday.
I'll ride down there with you.
Okay.
The one thing I think, unfortunately, that we kind of walked into is at the last time, we told the staff specifically some pretty strict time that if others wanted to make application, they could and should. We made that decision, the 5 of us. I think because we made that decision, despite some of the hesitation we'd have on Front Street, that's the rules we put out there. 2 people applied. I think if we're going to approve 1, we have to approve 2. Frankly, I'd rather not have either on public property, but we're way beyond that. That's happening January 1st, so that boat has sailed. And I can't wait for the cobbler man to get down here and enjoy some cobbler. So that's where I am, and I'm comfortable with any consensus that the mayor can conjure up out of this
No pressure.
discussion.
Well, I have no problem in saying yes to one and no to the other, going back to the property that we were just discussing this morning in Deerfield. We have no obligation to say yes to them on their request. So this food truck is the same thing. We have no obligation to say yes.
At least we're only pissing off a golf cart parker.
Well, let's address that situation. I mean, we've put this out here. People have put in their application. Do we have any obligation to honor either one of them? This is a legal question.
No. Oh, well, no.
All right. Thank you.
I'd like to add that we've also had discussions about putting part of the food truck ordinance in the LDO, which is going to be a while. But we were talking about the possibility of letting food trucks be in certain proximity to restaurants with the consent of the restaurant owner. So until we get there, I don't want to stick one on Front Street. And it just so happens that Fishtown and the restaurant next door have the same business owners, and there can be an agreement there. So that's another reason that I'm okay with this grace period applying to this situation.
I'll be interested to see what you decide.
But mainly, Turner Street Market, their operating hours is, they close at 3. The food truck that comes to Fishtown somewhere around 5 o'clock, so there's no competing there.
That's right. All righty, so it's a very sensitive topic, however, we need to work our way through this. You have two applicants, and I don't know if we need to go ahead and do this as separate motions. I don't want to bundle these two because there seems to be no consensus throughout the board about both of them.
You could do it either way, but Mayor, I would suggest in this situation, you consider each one separately.
Yes, okay. That's what I thought too, that's what I mentioned it. All right, so we're going to take each application separately on its own merit. And the first one we have is for Fishtown Brew House. That just happens to be on the docket first. I'm not putting them there on purpose. They just happen to show up first. And what is the pleasure of the board about approving this temporary, I guess, food truck request?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the temporary waiver for Fishtown.
Okay, and knowing that at the end of this waiver, there is no more food trucks on town property. I want to make sure everybody's clear on that, okay? Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to approve this application. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed have the same right. Now we're going to take the second application. This is the one for the Beaufort Spirits Company that is requesting to operate an itinerant merchant at space number 905 on Front Street. And what is the pleasure of the board for this application?
I make a motion that we approve the application for the food truck for the Beaufort Spirits Company.
All right, we've got a motion to approve this application. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sounds like two. All opposed?
Opposed.
All right, we've got 3 opposed, so the motion will not carry for this itinerant merchant. We're going to move on to the next topic.
And Mayor, just for clarification, we did say that this was a two-phased approach,
Okay,
and we would be coming back with something for our current LDO in regards to the special use permit. That will be before the UDO. I want to make sure that that's crystal clear, because if there's a different route that the board wants to go, I'd like to know that now.
When are you hoping to have that back by?
Boy, I shouldn't have said that now, should I, Commissioner? Well, I think we need to get it back to you and have it on the books at least by December. And if we're going to have this closed by January 1st. So I would say that hopefully we'll have something to you relatively soon. Maybe October, November, and then we'll have it for consideration in December.
that's great news. It'll turn the heat back up in November,
Be December, so it's good.
December. That's true.
Okay.
All righty.
Is that where we, okay.
Thank you very much,
ma'am.
Kyle. Appreciate
Yes,
your
ma'am.
time.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to the Park and Recreation Advisory Board appointment. This is an appointment to fill a vacancy that was created by a recent resignation. This is an unexpired term that runs through September the 30th of 2027. And we have 2 applicants that have put their name into the hat, Mr. Bruce Mann and Mr. Marvin Tomlin. So can I get a motion to open the floor to accept nominations?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor to accept nominations. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All righty. Any nominations for the position?
I'd like to nominate Bruce Mann.
Okay. Any further nominations? All righty. I'd like to close the floor to nominations. Can I get a motion to close the floor?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All righty, so by acclamation, we have Mr. Bruce Mann, who's going to be our new member to the Park and Rec Advisory Board, and I would like to welcome Bruce, and welcome to the team. So now we're going to move on to the wastewater allocation request to 308 Island Drive. And Donovan is back up again. Getting your steps in, Donovan.
Mayor Board, I'm back again.
Okay.
Sewer allocation request, 308 Island Drive. Let me see. This request is for one unit for 180 gallons per day. And that's in Deerfield Shores. Any
Okay.
questions?
All right, let's see. Would you like to repeat
I
yourself?
have no questions, but yes, I said, I will repeat myself from earlier. I feel the same way about this one, that it should be approved, and then we should make a decision about what to do going forward.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you.
And this too.
Same comments as what I said about the property at 302 Island Drive.
And I guess I would, again, reluctantly suggest that instead we need to concentrate on grant proposals so that we can address our stormwater problems for I&I, and I would reluctantly suggest that we do not approve this until we can solve those problems at a minimum.
Okay. Any further questions? Would you like to make that into a motion?
I make a motion that we reluctantly deny the application for 180 gallons per day at 308 Island Drive, Deerfield.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, looks like everybody. Now we're going to move on to managers' report. Okay, hold on.
I vote no.
You vote no? Okay, we've got a nay. Okay. It's 4-1. Now we get to move on to managers' report.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a handful of items I'd like to update the community about, and we want to thank the team for the continued movement with the F3's management contract. I also want to let you know that the fuel farm contract with Oaks Grading has been executed, and today, holding our LGC required public hearing was the next step in that process. There's been much conversation surrounding the USDA water and sewer and stormwater projects. The town has formally notified the contractor of the potential for changes, and the town took its active steps per the town board's request specific to determining if any additional funds would be available from USDA. Want to let you know that those funds have been potentially already allocated from USDA, and that if the town chooses to, with those funds now being obligated, it'll be in the town's domain to make a determination if they wish to accept and utilize those funds in the next 3 years. We have updated our active projects list, and we want to send that out to you concurrently. There are a substantial number of active projects with updates of percentages complete, and you'll be receiving that electronically via email. If you have any questions about a specific project or wish to prioritize one project over the other as staff, we'd ask for that guidance. We have a property appraisal currently in motion for our property owned on Front Street. Want to let you know about that. And then if there was any other specific requests outside of this final one, please identify. The town staff at the previous board meeting at our workshop had discussed the importance of sidewalk safety, and I want to thank the Public Works crew and specifically Mr. Eeks. He has pulled out the assessment that was completed by Precision Safe Sidewalks in 2024. It shows that we have over 1,700 areas in our community that could stand to be ground and made safety compliant for ADA. The total estimate on that assessment was approximately $175,000, but the investment in grinding would help us avert or defease $750,000 in removal and replacement. So it's really a true cost of how you want to look at it. There is a chance to do the grinding upwards of 175, or complete replacement would be north of $750,000. So we have an option to update the entire study, but that would come at a price tag of nearly $4,800. From a staff's recommendation, I believe that the current study we have is sufficient to attack the problem, but we wanted to ask the board for your concurrence. If there was a desire to reassess from the 2024 to 2025 and make that investment of the $4,750 or maybe $4,800, we would just need your advisement on that. So I'll pause there, Mayor. Is there consensus to stick with the current assessment, or would there be a desire to spend the funds to get an updated approval?
The current
current,
assessment,
yep.
probably.
Okay.
Commissioner Cooper? If you would like to stick with the current assessment, or would you like to have it updated? Nothing wrong with the old information? Okay.
So if we're going to stay with the current assessment from 2024, then we would have options for the board to consider as we move forward. I also want to point out that in Powell bill funding, you can choose legally to authorize use of these dollars for multimodal access, which an option is sidewalks. So we have budgeted in our budget pavement and repairs with Powell bill funds, and you can use a portion or all of it towards this goal, and you could get 25, 30% in, however you want to handle it, upwards of completing 1,783 plus or minus locations. So we'll let the board give us further clarification on that. The other piece I wanted to share was there was a question about sidewalks that are in extreme need in the 100 block of Pollock. Public Works is looking to remove those blocks of sidewalk as they exceed the limits of ground. So what we're going to go through is remove those sections, go back, deal with the tree root extrusions, and then put the new sidewalks back in. So that is on the table for our staff to currently be addressing with current funds. Are there any questions for either myself or our other team members? And we would gladly take them at this time.
Now, you mentioned splitting it into 3 different years possibly. Is there a threshold at which the company will or won't come out above a certain amount of money?
Great question, but no, sir. You could do it either 50% at a time. You could do it potentially 3 years, 60. We could invest $60,000 a year over 3 years. They're just extremely busy because the service they provide is sought after, and so you can split it up. And if you want to do dollar amounts, we would take the highest priority areas first and try to attack those, or you could set it up in blocks that you could do geographic approaches. So we'll just need a little bit more direction on that.
Okay, thank you.
And we can provide you greater detail on where those zones are and the high priorities.
Any further questions for Matt? Okay. So it sounds like you've got a consensus to stick with the current study.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And then we'll hear a little bit more about that. So we're going to move on to the mayor and commissioner's comment. I'll start with my left, and we'll start with Commissioner Spiegler.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who participated tonight in person and online, and thank you again to the town staff for all the work you've been doing for us. Has not gone unnoticed. And that's it for me tonight.
Commissioner Oliver?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got somewhat of a prepared statement tonight. I continue searching for an effective way to help Beaufort find its balance between healthy growth and fiscal responsibility. In my search, I repeatedly observe the tremendous importance of free enterprise and what it does in Beaufort. Generational private investment is directly responsible for the compounded financial success that we all enjoy today. We need to thank those who have preceded us. I will speak only of a few people, but I've listed a number on this page. But Dr. John Koslow, who promoted urban development and planning. Haywood Weeks, who took the risk on the docks August 29, 1978, 47 years ago to the month. Randy Ramsey, who collaborated with Hunter Chadwick to create what is now known as Safe Harbor, Jarrett Bay, and now the Vault. Fred McCune and Joey, serial entrepreneurs. Sammy Ballou and Phil Lewis, with multiple successful projects ongoing in our community. Kristen Prescott and Bradley, a young, capable family who moved and are investing here in Beaufort. What are the lessons to be learned? Beaufort is blessed with knowledgeable, energetic, productive citizens. We are best served as a board and a staff to collaborate with and encourage their economic development efforts. Free enterprise has built and sustains Beaufort and its employment. Remember, we were the coolest town in America more than a dozen years ago. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cooper?
We are still the coolest town, according to Southern Living magazine. Everybody wants to come to Beaufort, and every time I go to various conferences around in North Carolina, when they see Beaufort, I mean, to tell you, the people like, I love Beaufort, I love Beaufort.
It's true.
So, we still the coolest. Hurricane season, just want to remind everyone that it is upon us. There's one out there that they're not sure what's going to happen, but Chief, I remember at the July 18th, or no, July 18th, I brought about hurricane, and you asked me if I had my bags packed. I have them packed. Okay. So, with that being said, you need to know your route, how to get out of here. Have an emergency bag, your meds, lights, and et cetera, thing that you need. Full tank of gas. If you decide to stay in town, if you don't have a Generac, do not run a gasoline generator in an enclosed building because you will see the chief because your place will probably be on fire. Monitor the weather stations. Monitor Beaufort Sunshine website that is so professionally done by Rachel Johnson, town staff. And this time I also want to thank the town staff for all the work that they do, especially the public work who kept up a great job in keeping the town going around, picking up debris and everything during the heat wave that we occurred some weeks ago. And that's all I have, Mayor.
So why are your bags packed again? Where are you going?
Hurricane.
He gets to stay. I don't know why he's packing bags.
Hurricane, come, I'm leaving. I'm taking the high grounds.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see about that. All right, Commissioner Gilligan.
I don't have comments this evening.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Lopiccolo.
Yeah, I want to comment just to address the Godett Hotel again. I know that this is something that obviously as a board we've been really interested in, and the town is very interested in, and I just want to clarify just some of the history of the Godett and to understand where we are right now with it, where the current owner is not the owner of past. The family that did own the Godett Hotel did sell their interest to Preservation North Carolina years ago. And Preservation North Carolina sought a viable investor to try to bring the Godett Hotel into repair and to restore it for preservation's sake, and did select someone for that. So this person that has the hotel is an investor. It's not someone, from what I understand, that has any tie to the family. So I just want to clarify that, and that the town is not leaning on someone who is, owned the property forever and is, it's in their family. This is not the case. This is an investor at that property. So the town is working diligently to try to make this happen. And I think everyone here is on board with that. I just hope that this investor is also on board with that and can follow through for the town. Also want to say that, as a board, we're constantly looking at ways of paying for the things that we're trying to fix or create or develop in our community. So we don't take this lightly. We may have to raise capital funds in the future, and that may involve sale of properties and so forth. And maybe these are things that we could possibly be considering in the future. So those things have not been left in the dust. We're still working on these things. We do understand that that we are spending money and utilizing the town's money on these projects. I do feel that these projects are important to the town and that we will be in a better place in the years to come, but we may need to do things to raise some capital for the town because we have lots of projects out there that are going to cost a lot of money. So anyway, I just want to make sure the town's aware of that, that these are things that we don't take lightly. So, and I appreciate everyone coming out tonight with the town. We had a great packed house here. Just goes to show the amount of interest and spirit that we have in our community, and I really do appreciate everybody for coming out. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I would like to thank and recognize Ms. Pat Wesson, who just a few weeks ago came in to talk about an initiative, a grassroots initiative that she started that has been taking place at Randolph Johnson Park on Fridays. It's called Free Food Friday. And that initiative has grown exponentially, probably beyond her wildest dreams. There have been so many people that have been giving, which is the spirit of what Beaufort is about. And this initiative is to work on those food insecurities that students will have during the summertime when they don't have the availability for lunch. Now, this Friday, August the 15th, I believe is the last food drop-off point. Please go out and give generously. Don't put it on her porch. I understand that it's making it to her house. But I think it's been well-received, and people have been giving, which is, like I said, the spirit of Beaufort, in which we've grown to love. Also, this weekend, we have the Heritage Community Picnic that's going to be at Randolph Johnson Park on Saturday, which is August the 16th. Starts at noon. It's going to be games, events, and food. This is a partnership with Purvis Chapel, and we're loving to have you come out there. I plan on manning the cornhole board. I just want to let you know I've played the game before, so you will be hustled for a hot dog. So come on out and have some fun while the weather is really good. Speaking of weather, Commissioner Cooper has pointed out all the things that you need to do to get prepared for hurricane season, and guess what? There may be one a-brewing. So there's a news release that came from the county that is monitoring Erin as a hurricane season continues. Know that that could be lurking. We don't have any predictions as to how that's going to pan out, but that's what a hurricane is. It's very unpredictable. So be prepared. I say stay ready. You don't have to get ready. So with that being said, thank you for all coming out today. We're going to be going into closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11a and 3, and the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11a and 6. And can I get a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, thank you.